What's going on, guys? Today, we're going to be going over which boxers or which UFC fighters could do the best in boxing. Now, this is a random tier list I found. Uh, I'm just going off of, I'm just doing the fighters that they gave me here. Realistically, they kind of gave me all the ones I really wanted. I see a lot of the fighters that I was thinking of putting on here. So it doesn't matter. Today we're gonna be just going through it and giving, you know, my thoughts and opinions on which ones would do the best. Now starting off, Conor McGregor. Uh, I'm gonna put him in the could survive. Maybe you could maybe argue him putting in the make it competitive, but I think he could. I think he could survive, and I really think that's just I know he didn't survive against Mayweather, but he was making it competitive. And again, it's arguably the greatest boxer in the history of boxing. So you can't blame him. A defensive mastermind, and McGregor, in terms of skill, he can survive. But in his cardio, the way he has been gifted in terms of athleticism, he's always going to be the faster, more explosive guy at the beginning of the fight. He is never going to out. He's never going to out marathon someone. So I'm putting McGregor in the could survive tier, but he's not gonna cardio wise. He's never gonna be able to keep up with some of these other guys. Chris Curtis, controversial take. Controversial take. I'm putting him to make it competitive. And where's Sean Strickland? Where's Sean Strickland? I'm putting Sean Strickland in the could make it competitive. I'm putting both these guys here because they both share a similar style. Chris Curtis, Sean Strickland is they both adopt the Philly shell. The only difference is Curtis likes to use it in the pocket, and he uses it in a much closer range. He's an infighter. He likes to be on the he likes to more so be on the front foot. He likes to stand in the pocket, throw hands. Sean Strickland likes to utilize the jab. He likes to pressure you, but he doesn't like to stand in the pocket. He likes to back you up and then fire off jabs and get you worried about that, and then throw off combinations along the fence. I think they could make it competitive. Like, yeah, I think if you asked me, fucking, who would I take in Chris Curtis versus what's his Dimitri Bivol? I'm picking Dimitri Bivol 100%, but I'm not. I'm saying Chris Curtis could get a couple good shots in. He could make it competitive. I think he could make it a fun fight. These guys can make it a fun, competitive fight, but I don't see them making it a. I don't see them winning, so to speak. I don't see them being able to win, but I do see them being able to make it competitive. Next up, Rafael Fiziev. I think he could survive. I think he's just like McGregor. I think the only difference is he has a little bit better cardio. He showed that against Rafael dos Anjos. He was able to go 5 rounds. He was able to go 4 rounds and then knock him out in the fifth. So he can retain that knockout power, and he can retain his speed and explosive ability. I think he paces himself much better than a guy like McGregor. Again, Rafael's a Thai fighter. He comes from a Thai boxing background. Oh, dude, my nose is still stuffy. But I don't think it would inhibit it too much because his striking is still really good. He does keep a good high guard a lot of the time. But honestly, not terrible, not terrible, and I think he could survive. Next up, Calvin Kattar. I'm putting him also in the could survive tier. He's just a tough dude. He's got good kickboxing. I think I just think he could do really well. Jan Blachowicz. I think he gets pieced up by a lot of these boxers, and I think it really comes down to the fact that his base is jiu-jitsu, I believe. And while he does carry good power in his hand, a lot of his striking is utilized in the fact that he has super heavy low kicks. His low kicks are really good. I think that I think that because his low kicks are that good, that without them it makes it a little bit, it makes it a little bit. What's the word? It takes away too much of his game, and that's. I I think he gets pieced up. I don't think he gets absolutely mogged, but I definitely think he gets pieced up. Armin Tsarukyan, I think he gets absolutely mogged. He's a great UFC fighter. He carries powers in his hands, but a lot of his style is wrestling, and a lot of his striking also utilizes kicks, and he got fucking rocked and almost dropped by Joaquim Silva. It's just, I think he gets mogged. I think his style is too suited for MMA. It'd be too much of a contrast, especially taking away his what's it called, his wrestling. Bobby Green, I'll put him in the could survive. I think the difference between I'll put him at the top because the difference between him is like he has good cardio. He kind of just has the peppering shots. I think he could definitely hang with a lot of these boxers. There is just the chance that he gets KO'd, but that's just the risk with his style at all times. That is always the risk with his style, and I think that regardless of whether it's boxing or MMA, that's always his hands down style is always what makes it makes his style risky. Justin Gaethje. I think he'll get pieced up. Gaethje doesn't utilize a lot of head movement. A lot of his head movement is just ducking down and throwing winging overhands, and I think a lot of boxers would be able to see that coming and counter and avoid it, and then just counter with an uppercut, catching Gaethje. Fiziev was able to do it. Gaethje was able to do it to Fiziev, but Fiziev was able to catch Gaethje with the uppercuts. Speaking of which, Oliveira. Sorry, I'm an Oliveira fanboy, but he gets absolutely pieced up. He gets pieced up by a lot of these boxers. Gaethje utilizes head movement, but it's simple, predictable head movement. Oliveira just doesn't utilize head movement. And I think both of these guys would get pieced up by a lot of the high-level boxers. Robert Whittaker, I think he could survive. Whittaker's boxing isn't terrible. If you look at the rematch with Adesanya, he was making it. He was beating Adesanya in the pocket, and I think the reason he got caught and knocked out in the first fight was because he didn't understand how good Adesanya was in the pocket, and I didn't think he understood Adesanya's capabilities and willingness to throw like that inside the pocket, and the fact that he was able to land such tight hooks in the pocket. But Whittaker in the rematch, he was able to find his way into the pocket and beat him. Kept his chin down. He only really got dropped in the first round. He only got hurt in the first round, but a lot of the time he was beating him in the pocket. And I think you can make it competitive. Now, speaking of which, I'll put both of these two. Hold on, let me put Alex in here to separate Strickland and the dog bender. I think Izzy and Pereira both make it competitive as boxers. I think they could definitely make it competitive. And I do believe that both of these guys can knock out professional boxers. In fact, I think both of them have professional boxing records. Jimmy Crute. I see Jimmy Crute down here. Gets mogged. But Pereira and Adesanya, I think they both have really good. What's it called? They both have good styles that could translate to boxing well. Pereira has. They both have really good frames, and Pereira just has that death touch that would help him. But they could make it competitive, but it's not a guarantee that they're beating these boxers. Sean O'Malley. A lot of people are going to disagree with what I'm about to say. I'm being so dead honest, I think he beats Ryan Garcia. People see that Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney performance, but I think that was just Ryan Garcia was willing to make it scrappy, and Devin Haney, when things got scrappy with Devin Haney, he tried to make it and keep it a boxing match at all times instead of making it a scrap. And I just don't think that was right. Sean O'Malley, and the thing is with Devin Haney, he carries no pop on his shot. So when he hit Ryan Garcia with that shot, he didn't even drop him. I think if Sean O'Malley landed that same shot, I think he would have dropped Ryan Garcia bad, and I think he's much more calculated. I think he could time Ryan Garcia better. I think he utilized his footwork a lot better than Ryan Garcia. I think Garcia's probably going to have the speed and the power advantage, but I think O'Malley would have enough speed and power over compared to Devin Haney that it would make enough of a difference. Why is Justin Gaethje on here twice? I'm just now realizing this. We're just going to leave him down here. But yeah, I do think that Ryan Garcia definitely could beat boxers. Poirier. I'm putting him in the could survive tier, and I'm doing the same thing with Jalen Turner. I do think that Jalen Turner and Poirier could survive. I think Poirier has a good boxing style. I think he utilizes good head movement, and I think if any fight stays a boxing match in the lightweight division, I think he'll always win. So I think he could definitely survive. And, I'm considering putting him could make it competitive, but I just think that comparatively to some of these other boxers, or just some of these, like, boxers that he would be fighting against, that he would be too open and he would get caught too much. Jalen Turner, I think the only reason he survives is because he's a fucking 6-foot freak. I'm not going to go too in-depth with him because I don't care. Let me do this one. Ian Gary, I think he could survive. I think he's tall. Awkward reach for his height, but I think he could survive. A guy like Leon Edwards, I'd say he could survive. Let me do this real quick. Jeff Neal, I think he could survive. Shavkat, I think he gets pieced up. Let me do this. Shavkat doesn't utilize head movement as much as he should. Shavkat, people like to see Shavkat as this, like, absolute god. Shavkat doesn't really utilize head movement too much. He was getting caught by Jeff Neal. I think if he were to be in a boxing match, he would get pieced the fuck up. Corey Sandhagen, I think he could survive. He utilizes good footwork really well. Now we could get on to Jack Della Maddalena. I just wanted to get some of these out of the way really quick. Jack Della Maddalena, I'm going to put JDM. I think you can make it competitive. If you look at his style, he doesn't utilize too many kicks, and he doesn't utilize too many, like, knees or, like, big elbows or anything like that. I mean, I know people are going to look and be like, oh, but he knocked out Gilbert Burns with a knee. He knocked him out with a knee because he couldn't really throw his hands. And it was because he predicted the takedown. He knew he was going to try and Gilbert was going to try and chain wrestle him, so he immediately threw the knee the moment he had enough distance. He broke his arm, and he was in a high-pressure grappling match, and it was the last round. He had to go for a Hail Mary. But if you look at his fight against Kevin Holland, he utilized good head movement. He was able to find his way inside the pocket really easy. He was able to land good shots on Holland. If you look at his fight against Basil Hafez, he was beating Basil Hafez on the feet really easily. Guys like Randy Brown, he was beating on the feet. He was able to drop Randy Brown bad. But I think his Kevin Holland performance really shows how good of a boxer he can be, because when that long reach was utilized, he was able to get past it, move past the arms, slip past the jabs, and get inside the pocket and land big shots. And I think that's a great win, and I think Jack Della Maddalena could make it competitive. I'm not saying he's guaranteed to win, but he could definitely make it competitive, and plus he has a really good shin. Brandon Moreno, I'll put him in the could survive tier. I've seen his boxing. He utilizes good boxing. He keeps a good high guard. He tries to protect his head at all times. He can get caught, but then again, everybody can get caught. So matter. Yair Rodriguez gets pieced up. Brian Ortega, I think, gets pieced up. Both of these guys could survive. I think they just get pieced up because Yair's game. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like ADHD right now. What the fuck is going on? But I think Brandon Moreno uses good boxing. I've seen his boxing drills, like his pool, like the pool tube drills. I've seen those. He actually is really skilled. He has good footwork. I know he utilizes a lot of jiu-jitsu, but he does stand and trade a lot. And his last fight against Brandon Royval, he kind of was just throwing overhands and countering. He showed a good ability to time Royval, but I think that fight wasn't as good, and he didn't do as well because he kind of just got burnt out. He was kind of just going in there to kind of get it over with. But great fight from but Brandon Moreno has great boxing, and I honestly don't think he's that he's that bad, and I think he could survive against some of these guys. Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega. Well, first off, Yair Rodriguez's game relies too much on kicks, I believe, and he got caught by Volkanovski. Brian Ortega's game is a lot of jiu-jitsu, and he got caught by Yair. So I think these both get pieced up. Not terrible, not bad by any means. Would kick my living shit in. Just saying what I could think. Just saying what I think. Jamal Hill. The thing is, I think his boxing offense isn't bad. But it's just he's too open. He's too open on the feet for left hooks. He doesn't get absolutely mogged because I think he's better than Jimmy Crute. He's fucking slept Jimmy Crute. I just think he's just, too open on the feet. Stipe Miocic too. Stipe Miocic I'll actually put in could survive. And I say that because it's the fact that he can move really well on the back foot. I mean, if you watch his fight with Fabricio Werdum, he was very good at moving backwards and generating power while on the back foot, and I think that's really good. I think that takes a lot of skill and a lot of just like natural power to be blessed with. I really do think that Stipe Miocic could do really well against some boxers. I do think so. I think he could survive, and then again, people like to mention that he has a good chin, but his chin is kind of suspect. You got dropped by like a short right hand from Cormier that slept him bad. I don't know if I could trust that. You got knocked out by Stefan Struve, but then again, you're in heavyweight. Anything can happen. He has a relatively good chin for heavyweight. Stipe Miocic could do pretty well. Cyril Gane. Let me say this. Francis Ngannou should have beat Tyson Fury. Cyril Gane was beating Francis Ngannou on the feet. Cyril Gane would smoke Tyson Fury, I think. Alright? And that's just my opinion. I think Cyril Gane in terms of MMA could be good, but he just doesn't want to put in the training for grappling. If he wanted to be a boxer, he could be one of the best right now. I think if he was champion and he had one title defense by now, he would have already gotten a boxing fight. Alright, he has great footwork. I think he manages the distance really well. He's super light-footed. He's super quick. And I think if you put him against Tyson Fury, I think he would smoke Tyson Fury because he's also just as big and muscular as Francis Ngannou. He's not as big and muscular, but he's big and muscular like Francis Ngannou. And it's crazy because he looks the same size as Ngannou, and Ngannou's like 20 pounds heavier. Next up, Adrian Yanez. I really want to put him in the Could Make It competitive, but I think he could survive. I think Adrian Yanez has actually really good boxing. I think he has quick, heavy hands. He has good fundamentals. I know he got KO'd by Rob Font, but Rob Font is also one of the better boxers in the UFC. Matter of fact, I'm putting Rob Font in the Could Survive tier. I think they're both really good UFC boxers. I think, honestly, if anyone's boxing would translate better, I think it would be Adrian Yanez's, just because of his, like, it's weird, they're like styles of boxing, because Font is like utilizing his long reach and his jab, but Yanez is like kind of like, it's just different styles of boxing. I think Yanez's would translate over better, but I think, just on the fact that Rob Font KO'd Adrian Yanez, I'd have to put him above him. Paddy Pimblett gets absolutely mogged. He runs at people with his chin up in the air. He would get slept by any boxer immediately. Ryan Garcia would land one left hook and Paddy Pimblett would die. Max Holloway, I'd say he'd survive. He could survive. I'd put him at the top of survive. Max Holloway's on here twice too. Oh, that's weird. And we're gonna go a little bit quicker. Song Yadong, I think he could also survive as well. Max Holloway, okay, so Song Yadong kind of has like an Adrian Yanez type boxing. And Max Holloway, I think it's just the way he started utilizing a lot more kicks, and that's what's finding him a lot more success now. Again, his boxing is good. I think if push came to shove, he could probably end up winning by just outpacing a lot of these boxers. But I just don't think that I just don't think that his style would automatically make him like win. Dricus du Plessis, I think it's pieced up. He's like Paddy Pimblett but better. He kind of he'll kind of like charge at you with his chin up in the air. He's a bit open at times, but he's definitely better than Paddy Pimblett. Kai Kara France, I think he could survive. I like Kai Kara France's boxing. He's crisp. He has good timing. He has pretty heavy hands. I think he could survive. I like his style of boxing. Paulo Costa, I think he could survive. He has a pretty granite chin. I like his hooks and I like his shots to the body. What I liked recently was he started utilizing a really good jab. He started utilizing a really good jab, and I like that. His jab was landing hard on Whitaker at all times, and I like that. And I think with that utilization of the jab, I think he could do a lot better. I think this version of Paulo is the best version of Paulo that we've ever seen in the UFC. John Jones probably gets pieced up. Because here's the thing, John Jones, he's so successful in MMA because he's so good at mixing the styles. Listen, I hate John Jones any day of the week, but he's successful in MMA not because of his boxing or anything. It's because of how well he utilizes the different styles of martial arts. He has great elbows, he has great knees, kicks, he has good punches, his wrestling, his ground and pound. I'm kind of understanding what Anthony Smith would say. If you take John Jones's boxing and separate it and isolate it, and it's just his boxing, it's not that fantastic, but it's his ability to utilize that boxing with everything else that makes it such a threat. Because you're so worried about if he's going to go for the takedown, if he's going to go for that spinning back elbow, if he's going to go for that step-in lead elbow, if he's going to go for that knee, if he's going to go for that oblique kick. His boxing by itself isn't the greatest, but it's enough that he wouldn't get absolutely shit on by some of these guys. All right, next up, Tom Aspinall. Fuck, dude. if Francis Ngannou is almost beating Tyson Fury, I think Aspinall would sleep Fury bad. I'm gonna leave it at that. Arnold Allen. I'll put Arnold Allen that could survive. He has a bit of a suspect chin, and I don't like that for him. But I think he does really well moving off the back foot, like Stipe Miocic. I think he does really well moving off the back foot, and he has really good counters, and his hands are super deceptively fast. I think his hands are really deceptively fast, and I think that he has good footwork. He's very floaty. He's very light on his feet, and I think with that he could move around the cage really well, or he can move around the ring really well. And if he's getting backed up, he could I think he could find an opening where someone overthrows and then land a good shot and good shots, and I think he could make it. I think he could survive, and who knows, maybe even make it competitive. Next up, Ilia Topuria. I think Ilia Topuria, I think he could do it. Yeah, I genuinely think he'd do. I think he could beat guys like Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. I think Topuria would sleep Devin Haney. And I think it's because, like, if you look at his style, he does utilize good head movement. I think he's utilized it a lot more now. One thing you will see is that when he is in the pocket, he is kind of stiff. He doesn't move his head in the pocket very well. But at range, his defense is phenomenal. When he's at range, his hands are always up. They're always where they need to be. He, not taking too many risks. But if you look at his Josh Emmett fight, when he enters the pocket and he starts getting scrappy, Emmett was able to connect. He's able to land 2 or 3 shots on Topuria because Topuria doesn't move his head very well. And when he starts throwing in the pocket, because I feel like he's too focused on I think he relies too much on the fact of his chin, and he doesn't try to utilize head movement. Because I think he'll rely on his chin, and then he'll be like, all right, I'm going to eat these, and I'm going to look at where you're going. I'm going to predict where you're going, and I'm going to hit you right on the marker. So that's just what I think. Next up, Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski could survive. Don't mind like the order of could survive. That's just like I'm just throwing them in there. I think that Volk has good boxing. I think it's just that his game is too much of a kickboxing style, and that his game relies too much on things like leg kicks and body kicks. And I think he could make it competitive, and I think he could survive, but I don't think he would win any boxing match, just because his style is too reliant on kicks. I'll put Islam in could survive too. His boxing has made strides. He was able to beat guys like Charles Oliveira in the boxing. And Charles Oliveira was notorious for striking. So I think the difference maker in Oliveira versus Makhachev 1 was Oliveira striking. And I think Islam's strides in his striking game would allow him to survive. I think they really would allow him to survive. Petr Yan. I think Petr Yan could genuinely beat boxers. I think he genuinely could. I think Petr Yan is so overlooked for best boxer in the UFC. When he's in the pocket, I don't think there's a single man on the planet that could beat him in the pocket. Like, if you look at the Song Yadong versus Petr Yan, a lot of people were picking Song Yadong because they thought his power and his pocket fighting were going to be enough to beat Petr. Petr was whooping his ass in the pocket. Petr Yan, his boxing is heavily underrated. And I think he doesn't really get the credit he deserves for his boxing. So I do think his boxing is on the level of a Taporia, an Aspinall, a Gane, an O'Malley. Because people like to say, oh, O'Malley turned Jan into a wrestler. Let's not act like Jan didn't turn O'Malley into a wrestler. Let's not act like Sean O'Malley didn't shoot a fucking takedown in that fight. Let's not act like O'Malley didn't shoot takedowns in that fight, because he did. So I think Petr Yan's wrestling is heavily underrated, and I think he could do really well against these boxers. Wonderboy Thompson, I think you can make it competitive. I think his footwork and his elite level understanding of distance management would allow him to make a fight really competitive against a high level boxer. I just don't think, because he's a karate fighter, his lack of kicks would not be able to make him beat these other high level guys. And finally, Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman could survive. I think he has decent head movement, and I think he has a solid jab. You know, he kind of has like plotty footwork, and when he gets in the pocket, he doesn't really have the greatest technique. If you look at the first Leon Edwards fight, or the second Leon Edwards fight, when he had Leon backed up against the cage at times, the shots he were throwing were kind of sloppy, and Leon could have like thrown like counter lefts and uppercuts because Usman was open for them. I just think that his pace and his pressure would be enough to beat a lot of these boxers. And that's about it. That's all there is to this. Thank you for watching. I know this was long, but there are a lot of fighters on this list. Tell me who you guys think. That who would be the best down below. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.